Welcome back after our holiday hiatus to the 2024 season of On the Brink. To remind you, the idea of this podcast is really pessimistic. We are on the brink of some really very bad possibilities as far as peace and politics and social justice. And we're going to talk about all of that in the weeks to come. But we also are going to take numerous healthy breaks from that gloom and ponder some of the wonderful things in life. And for me, that includes travel and planting things and pets and art. We're going to start off the year and this season with a visit to Aida Cerkez. She is a remarkable storyteller, a war correspondent, a gifted wise woman, and my really good friend. We met in Sarajevo, which is Aida's hometown. And when Bosnia descended into war in the mid-1990s, Aida shipped her mother and her young son out of the country to safety in Germany. But she remained, and she lived and she reported on the Serbian siege of her city. And then she spent the next 30 years reporting for first the Associated Press and now the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project on the aftermath of war and of ethnic cleansing and poverty and hate. It could all be a movie. In fact, it actually is a movie, and she'll be telling you a little bit about that. But more importantly, those life-shattering events that happened when she was in her 20s have made Aida, as I see her, something of a prophet. And as we and the rest of the world are looking at nationalism and conflict, or worse, war, so we're looking at intolerance towards immigrants and refugees, she's already been there, already done that. And the trouble to me, and she's told me this, is that we are not listening to her advice. And that makes you something of a Cassandra as far as profiting, right, Aida?
Well, I don't profiting. Yes, okay. I can see the future, but I don't really have an advice. I
A
don't really
warning. It comes off as a warning.
rather
Yeah.
warning.
So
Yes.
we're going to try to listen to you. Will you tell my listeners something about that 2-year siege of Sarajevo? The former war correspondent, you knew him, of course, and now anti-Israeli critic Chris Hedges says 30 years later he still has nightmares about Sarajevo, although Gaza is worse. Tell us a little bit about Sarajevo and your perspective on Gaza.
It was almost 4 years, not 2 years.
You're right.
Um, it's very difficult to explain these circumstances to normal people, as it was difficult to explain to me before the war anything about any other war. I used to switch channels when I was watching the Gulf War or uh, um, any other conflict, Beirut and all of that. It was just boring, and I just couldn't figure out why don't people just get along? And I switched the channel and watch a movie. Well, that all changed when it came to me. Then I started screaming, help, help, help. But I guess as I was switching channels, so were other people switching channels when the trouble came to my
Mm-hmm.
city.
Mm-hmm.
And, now when I look back, it was so predictable what's going to happen. It was so obvious. You just don't want to see it. And I saw that I saw that again with Ukraine. I spoke to people in Kiev like 3 days before the Russians rolled in, and they were so confident that nothing is going to happen. And I was thinking, oh my God, there are troops all along the border. What do you think they're doing there? Oh, it's an exercise. Exercise for what?
Yeah.
And and they were, they wouldn't dare, and this is not going to happen, and it's the 21st century. And I was just listening to this, and I saw myself in beginning of 92, and I wouldn't even blame them because I know I was that stupid. 3 days later, after that conversation, and I remember, oh, no, 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 no. And I remember during that conversation, I said, okay, forget everything I said. Just listen to me. Take pen and paper and listen to me. Water purification pills, batteries, car batteries. I said, what am I writing? Just write this down. and do it after we hang up. Candles, jerry cans. And I started just on the top of my head, remembering what it is that you actually need to survive. And I dictated all that. But 3 days later, the Russians invaded Ukraine. And to me, it was just such a deja vu, it came, everything came back, but I wasn't traumatized, I don't think I have PTSD. Actually, I do a little bit, but, it's not that I wake up screaming in the night, I don't know why I don't, maybe I'm not normal. But a lot of people still struggle with what they went through. I think that according to the World Health Organization, 70% of Sarajevans have PTSD.
Right.
And PTSD is something that is transgenerational. One generation infects the next generation, and even the generations that are born after the conflicts inherit the PTSD because of all the stories they listen to and because of all the trauma their parents went through, and it goes on and on and on. And
but tell us, Aida, what caused that trauma? Describe, say, a typical week during the siege. Americans have no idea.
Okay. You first hear the shooting and you cannot believe that this is actually happening to you. And you constantly think it'll stop. This is just an incident, but then it doesn't stop. Then at some point you can't get out of the house because of the bullets. And then you start seeing people with bags fleeing one neighborhood and going to live with their relatives or friends in another neighborhood that is less affected. And it comes like within a few days. You just can't believe it until a shell lands on your house. Mm-hmm. And that's when you realize I have to go down to the basement, And the bad thing is that you constantly, all the time, you think that this is temporary, and then that temporary goes on for years. And now you have to, and then the electricity goes out and it doesn't come on again for years. Mm-hmm. And then the water is off and it doesn't come back for years. And there is no heating. And then there is no food. There are no stores. There's nothing to buy. You can have $100,000 and walk around the city and it doesn't mean anything to anybody because there's nothing to buy. And you probably cannot imagine a world where money means nothing. Mm-hmm. You can have thousands of dollars. You can have gold. You can have jewelry. You can have diamonds. And I've seen people exchanging diamond rings for 250 grams of cheese.
Wow.
So,
So are you empathizing with what we're seeing and hearing out of Gaza? Starvation, lack of power.
Yes. And, and there's one thing that hurts when you go through this. There's something that hurts really when I see Gaza. That every resident is called a terrorist.
Yep.
They're all terrorists in media. And those 10,000 children that were killed, they're also terrorists. And that makes me a terrorist. I'm taking this personally. Mm-hmm. I am taking this personally. Okay, these people have been under siege for 75 years. Mm-hmm. Or 45 years. I don't even know. It doesn't matter. It's a matter of statistics. So they try to break out, and they do it in the worst possible way. If you try to, I don't know what the intention was on the 7th of October, but everything they did was wrong.
Yep.
If you try to break out of a siege, and then you target civilians and rape women, what do you think you're going to achieve? Break the siege? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you want to fight? How am I going to be on your side? Although you are really in the same situation I was. I should naturally be on your side. But I can't. You blocked me. You tied my hands with those crimes.
Mm-hmm.
But then this mass punishment and this, what now amounts to genocide, what Israel is doing, is hurtful. I can understand. I can feel what these people in Gaza are going through. But what I don't understand is the rest of the world. I understand Israel. They want clean Israel. That's very something I've been living with, like ethnic cleansing and genocide is what happened to me and what happened in Bosnia. So I understand it. And I understand Israel. But I don't understand you.
The United States.
The taxpayers. I would kill myself if $1 of my income would go for that.
On the Brink is brought to you by the Donna Frank team of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Blake Realtors. I am really proud of this sponsor. The team is led by my friend, Donna Federico, who is a specialist in luxury property. She's got like 18 years experience in real estate. Her team sets annual sales records. They are the best. They're experts. So I'm telling you, if you care right now or are interested in the future to buy, sell, invest, or just check out real estate, write down this address: DONAFED, DonnaFed at gmail.com. Or you can go to the Berkshire Hathaway Blake Realtors.com. Well, let's talk about something a little happier than we have been, and that's movies. Everybody loves movies. Aida Cerkez, our guest today, is a war correspondent and a writer. She's worked on films, and she is the subject of a film called What's This Country Called Now? Odd name, movie about your life. Aida, tell us about this.
The movie is about the role of journalism, in fact. Okay.
Something I'm a little bit interested in.
Yes. um, during the war, I started in 92. I started reporting in 92. Somewhere around 94, I realized that everything I thought the goal of journalism was in 92 was not. In 92, I thought naively that if the rest of the world would only know what's happening here, it would do something. By 94, I realized they do know. They just don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that it would be really wise to leave this place, because I felt as a journalist that I'm reporting about this, and that it is just, it feels like yelling into deaf people's ears, and nothing is happening. Well, actually things were happening, but I wasn't aware of them. So I thought I'm going to leave. But then there was this one or two more interviews that I had to do. And it was the 80th anniversary of the beginning of the First World War, the assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, which actually prompted the First World War. That happened in Sarajevo. And we thought we should write a story about it, because there's another war now in Sarajevo. That's the third one.
Right.
In the same century. And I thought it would be really cool to find somebody who is a witness of this assassination. And guess what? I found him. He was 92 years old, couldn't hear anything. So I went to interview him, and I had to kind of scream my questions or write them on a piece of paper. And then he would scream his answers back. The whole neighborhood could hear it. And I was interviewing for 2 days. And that's the guy who changed my mind. He was telling me about his life and everybody who conquered Sarajevo during that century. And I realized that this man has been living in that same house. This is the house where I was interviewing him. That's where he was born. And he was living in that house all his life, never left it, and lived in 5 different countries.
And he gave the name of the movie. So you should tell us that.
Yes. And he was listing, I lived in the Austrian Empire, then I lived in, old Yugoslavia, then in the kingdom of this and that, then in the Third Reich, then I lived in Yugoslavia. And then he stops and says, "What's this country called now?"
The movie got a title.
And the movie got a title.
And you also got an explanation of what the role of journalism is, why it matters, even when it seems at the time that it doesn't.
Yes, he asked me what I was still doing here. And I said, well, I was thinking I'll change the world with my reporting, but I realize I don't, so I want to leave too. And then he goes, yeah. Well, after the Second World War, I was asking some people in Germany and in Croatia, where were you when they took your neighbors away that night and they never showed up again? What did you do? And everybody after that war, everybody's excuse was, I didn't know. And then he goes, well, maybe they didn't. There was no internet. There was nothing. It was just state-controlled media, and people really didn't know about concentration camps. Seriously, they didn't. Then he was quiet and said, you know what? You should keep reporting. Just keep reporting. Make the information available. Because if the information is available, then not doing anything about it is not an alibi. Now it becomes a choice.
Yeah.
And I liked that explanation so much, I stayed. And it's true. With today's means, with today's possibilities to be informed, ignorance is a choice.
Mm-hmm. I still feel like you're warning and explaining to people who are not listening. And now I need to bring up Mr. Trump. You saw a Trump-like character in Milosevic, did you not? Tell us about that.
Oh, yes. During his pre-election campaign, the stuff he was saying, I didn't know Trump before.
Who was saying? Trump was saying?
Trump, the stuff he was saying and his supporters were saying,
Such as
lock her up.
So you're going all the way back to 2016.
Yeah. Yes. When I heard this lock her up, it's the same thing I heard masses screaming in Belgrade when Milosevic was rising, and when he was bad-mouthing all of his political opponents and fired up the crowd. So the crowd started yelling, "Uhapsite Vlasia," lock him. It was a political opponent.
Right.
Lock him up. And that just started echoing. I said, oh, shit, it's happening again. You know what I did? It was impossible to tell any of my friends, especially American friends. They just, there was no way they would listen. I told everybody, this guy will win. And you are in trouble. From now on, I don't know for how long. No way. He's a joke. Not only that, I feared for America, I feared for the whole world. I had some savings in Germany. I flew to Germany and emptied my bank account over there and redrew all my money back to Bosnia and built myself a house next to a river Um, you've
Yeah.
been
I'm,
there.
I'm laughing because I was one of the Americans that Aida said, oh, it's going to be terrible. And I didn't listen. And now I'm looking for her house by the river, the Buna River, with the garden and the orchard as my potential haven. So I know whereof she speaks. So, okay, Aida Cerkez, you predicted what would happen in 2016. Donald Trump did win. What are you predicting for 2024 when he is amazingly enough to me and to many of my Democratic colleagues in America, surprised to see he's running again very strongly?
You are always welcome as a refugee in in my house next to the river, where I have, because of my PTSD is related to not having water. My house is next to a clean river where you can bend over and drink it. I dug 2 more wells.
Wow.
That's where I spent my money. So you are welcome. I don't have a solution for you, because if Trump doesn't matter. What matters is that half of the country thinks like him. So if you think that if you eliminate him, he is not the cause, he is the consequence. And if you have half of the population thinking that way, you're not safe.
It isn't just the United States or Trump either. I
Oh,
mean,
no,
we're
no.
seeing the same thing in Hungary and in Latin America. And several countries now are going down the route of
Europe,
nationalism.
in
In the
Germany.
Philippines, in Germany, yeah. How have we come to this? What went wrong in the last year since World War II that led us to this feeling that we need to have strong men to protect us and
Um,
forget our rights?
well, it's about feeling unsafe. I think it started with the huge river of migrants hitting Europe. Europe was so proud of its values, and those are actually the most civilized and the most advanced values human history has ever come up with. The human rights
Yeah.
that are on paper and all of that, it is top. And it was the European Union came up with all those values and all those rights. But then the first time its population felt it's a little bit endangered, they immediately dropped them. And I think it started all with this huge river, with the Syrian war, with this huge river of a little bit dark-skinned refugees that were then joined by economic refugees, migrants, really, people not coming from a war zone, but people just coming from poor countries and invading Europe. And that's when I think Europeans felt that they're no longer in control of their own countries. And and it's fear. And when you have a fearful population that kind of feels a little bit afraid, that is usually used by right-wing nationalists who would have no chance of winning elections ever unless there was fear among the population. And they start inflaming. They actually start talking about that fear and scaring people even more and more and more until there is only fear. And then fear votes.
Yeah.
And when fear votes, it never votes left.
It's not just the fear, it's bigotry that is somehow made okay by the fear. You can hate another group, and we're definitely seeing that in the United States, as other countries are, against their minorities or their dark-skinned people or unfavored people because of sexual orientation. It's rampant in the world today.
Well, I must say again, fear mobilizes people. They get together into groups where everybody is the same. then you're not afraid of anybody in the group, you know. And what this creates is a lot of in groups that view the other group as the enemy.
Yeah.
And the rift is just bigger and bigger until they start fighting. And that's what I expect will actually happen in America and in Europe in a couple of years.
You see violence in America and in Europe.
I don't really see how this can end without violence.
Oh boy, that's a very frightening thought. There's
You're welcome, and your family is welcome in my house. I have built it for that. This is not a weekend house; it's a refuge.
Wow. Unlike the rest of the world, you are welcoming refugees into your haven.
Unless
we get overrun. Seriously though, what kind of violence do you see? Are we talking war as your country experience? Is there a civil war coming in the United States or in France, for example? Are Americans going to wake up with shells in their backyards?
Oh, no, they're going to fight each other. You know, you have so many weapons in your country. Everybody can have a private army and a small little militia according to your constitution, which is really stupid. And, you know, it already happened, Rosemary. A couple of people got together, I don't know in which state, and I was watching them. Like, it was something about whether cows can be grazing in on state land. And these people were a real militia. You know, okay, that got somehow, but nothing happened. But it can.
So how do we keep you from becoming a Cassandra here? Is there any step to be taken? If you could go back to Bosnia before 1992 or 3, is there something that could have been done then that we should be doing now?
Be aware of it. Stop denying. You know, denial is really what when you deny the problem, you drag it into time while the other side is preparing and arming itself. You keep denying, and all of a sudden, you're the one standing there with no weapons and besieged. You know, stop denying what's happening to you. Open a conversation. If there is still, I think it's too late, to be honest with you.
This is very cheery. Too late. So, yeah, even
you want some,
regardless of. Go ahead.
You want some optimism?
No, I want realism.
Okay, realism?
Yeah.
You will win.
But it's going to cost us. We will win in the end, but it will cost us.
Yes.
Hey, I just got done ordering 2 really gorgeous coffee mugs from Peacock Pots Pottery. This is a founding sponsor of the podcast, and I just love their stuff. Honestly, it has nothing to do with their sponsoring us. It's all the work of owner Ona Papagiorgio, who I've discovered is an engineer by trade. And she's managed to combine the precision of her engineering background with the prettiness of her artistic disposition. And I think you are going to like their stuff as much as I do. Check it out at peacockpots.com. If you are looking for a venue for a family reunion, a corporate gathering, a wedding, I've got a place for you. It's in the woods of Bennington, Vermont. It's a fabulous old house, sleeps up to 12. It was built by this weird kind of genius. He's got fireplaces and a hot tub and a sauna. You can tell I've been here. My favorite thing is probably the pirate ship in the sandbox in the backyard. It's fabulous. It's called Karen's Place. And during these dreary, wintry months, you can get it for a discount. It's worth looking at, worth checking out. The proprietor is a friend of mine, Jenny Dewar, and you can find out more at www.karensplacebt.com. Karen, let me tell you, spelled Karins. We are talking with Aida Cerkez, a survivor of the siege of Sarajevo a prophet about world affairs right now. We've been talking about war in Gaza. Same for Putin. Do you see Putin as the monsters that attacked in your country? Any similarities? Putin's still hurting your country, Aida.
Oh yeah, his shadow is everywhere, and it's been like this for years. I am I'm living with that enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And and I was thinking about, how do people pick sides in today's world? How do they, you're either supporting one side or the other. How do you pick your side? And there are two ways. You can be loyal to your nation, you can be loyal to your religion, or to the color of the skin, or to your culture, or you can be loyal to your values. Now, lately, I've been thinking a lot about that movie, not Avatar. Yes, Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
And in Avatar, apart from all the great technology that was used, there's something in that story. And that's, there's this earthling who joins the aliens. And at some point, he realizes, in a conflict between these aliens and his own race, that it is actually the aliens that are representing all the human values
He cares about. That's right.
that he thought were human values.
Mm-hmm.
And that his own kind have betrayed those values and have become really the bad guys. And it's amazing how this movie, right somewhere in the first quarter of the movie, you as a viewer betray your own race, and you switch, you become Jack Sully, because it's you the joy you feel when those aliens shoot down one of our helicopters. You kind of jump up and you're happy. So you're watching a war, and in this war you're rooting for the others. And I was thinking about why I was doing that, and then I realized it's the values. I'm not loyal to my country. I'm not loyal to my family. I'm not even loyal to my nation, or, well, I don't really have a religion, but anything. I'm loyal to values.
So who are you rooting for in Ukraine? Relate that to Mr. Putin's attack.
The Ukrainians, of course. They're attacked.
Yes. What's in their future? Is their future the same that Bosnia has gone through?
Yes.
Well, that would be an improvement over what could be happening, which is that Putin wins if he could just smash them.
I don't think he can smash them. I mean, it's going to be a forever. I mean, they're not going to give up. They're going to, he can occupy them, but how is he going to keep them? They're going to blow up every 5 minutes. They're going to blow up something.
If West support does not continue, there's no munitions to keep blowing up things. They're losing all of their experienced fighters. Hell, they're losing all their population. So Putin, by keeping it up, could eventually win. That's a possibility right now.
Yes. And get what?
Get all the land that was Ukraine.
An obedient Ukrainian population?
Oh, no,
what's going to happen? Terrorism.
Yeah. Yep.
Terrorism. The Ukrainians are never going to let them live in peace. They're going to blow up, and I would too.
Mm-hmm.
Every 5 minutes, something in Russia.
Well, how do you feel about how the taxpayers are behaving towards Ukraine? First, we were supporting. Biden still would like to be supporting. There's decreasing money. We've never gone all out with either weaponry or certainly not with manpower. You understand the world response in Ukraine?
I expected this, and I was telling the Ukrainians, that they were in the beginning, oh, the world is going to help us. Yeah, to a certain point, then they're going to get tired. Nobody wants to finance this forever. So I understand that too. Why would my tax money go there? What does this have to do with me? Really?
Right.
What does Gaza have to do with you? How are you actually picking your battles? How are you picking what you're buying? What you're spending your money? According to what? Is it the values, or is it what is it?
Aida, a few years ago, you were invited to Jerusalem to talk to Israelis sympathetic to Gazans, sympathetic to the Palestinians about the situation there. What did you tell them? What was your advice then?
I don't remember that they really asked me about my advice. They wanted to know what my experience was in Bosnia, but I don't think that they asked me, and I don't think that I told them anything. I mean, do you expect me really to untangle that problem? I just
You had some points, though, I suspect, about understanding and talking to one another.
Yes, but when you adopt this attitude of superior, and it's going to be my way or it's going to be no way, there's not much I can tell you then. There's really not much, except it's not worth it. You're not going to win in the end. You can kill everybody, but you're not going to be happy afterwards.
Aida, you've come out of war and division and the worst kind of split in your country, three-way split among ethnicities. How do you live now? What do you see changed in your family? Your mother, who was the generation before, and your son, the generation after. And you have two grandchildren now. How are their lives and their feelings, their values different than yours?
Oh, they're not different. I made sure they're not different. Trust me. my son, I did something really good without even knowing it. I come from a family with a Muslim background. Now you have to know that in Yugoslavia, nobody was really Muslim or Catholic. We were all communists. Come on, But the background of my family is Muslim. I married a Christian Orthodox Serb, and we produced a child that's a mixed child. His only future is multi-ethnic Bosnia. His only future is a global citizen. He does not have a recognized, or by the current constitution, equal nationality. My son cannot be president of Bosnia and Herzegovina because only a Serb, a Bosniak, or a Croat can be presidents. My son is a child of a mixed marriage and does not have the right to become president. He's still fighting his fight. This war is not over. The armed conflict is over, but the war is not over. And, that he has no choice but to fight for his right.
Is there anything optimistic that you see out of all of this war and slaughter and coming violence? Is there anything optimistic?
Yes.
What?
I should have been dead, Rosemary. Instead, I'm sitting in Sarajevo in my beautiful apartment. Since the war, during the war, my code name on radio was Bounty, because I really loved Bounty bars. So everybody called me Bounty.
Candy bars.
Yes. And you know what? When the war ended, I had 2 yachts, and both of them were called Bounty 1 and Bounty 2. And this is the story of a winner.
And Aida, I think you just wrote the toast for this program, a toast to life, to continued optimism, even in the face of the worst events, and to yachts and grandchildren and flowers and whatever makes you happy in the future.
Can I say something?
I'm supposed to end it, but you can say something. Yeah,
No,
you can
I will
say
end it.
All
Mine
right.
has to be the last one. if if you were demoralized by this interview, and if you think it's pessimistic and you don't have a chance, trust me, you are much stronger than you think.
We get lots of comments, all good, about the music we play leading in and leading out of the show and in between the segments. All of it is composed by my friend, composer David Keckley. If you like the music, if you want to see more of what he's done, hear it, you can go to Pine Valley Press, all one word.com. That's based in Williamstown, Massachusetts.